Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Study of X, the X-Men podcast where we go over through the most recent Krakoa era X-Men. We will be covering issue 2 of House of X and issue 2 of Powers of X this week. I'm your host, Tim, and joining me is Chris and Sergio.
Hello.
Hey, I just want to say, if you've been listening to us for 2 whole episodes, thank you for being one of our biggest supporters.
Yes, thank you for still being here. I'm glad we did not chase you guys off.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah, we wanna get into it.
sure. I'm
yeah,
super
let's go.
excited to get into this one. This one's a great issue.
Yeah, I think was actually very solid.
All right, to start us off for this episode, we have House of X number 2, The Uncanny Life of Moira X. It's written by Jonathan Hickman and was released in August of 2019. Starts off pretty simple. We see the life of Moira McTaggart. It's normal, human, very nice. She passes away at an old age, surrounded by her friends and family. And then in her second life, she awakes and is aware of who she was in her previous life and retains everything that she knew from her first life. And during this time where she's trying to figure out if this is real or not, she learns two important things. One, that if she is a passive participant in her life, everything will go the same way that it had in her first life. But if she was an active participant, things would change, and stuff would play out differently this time.
So to kind of add a little bit more context, this is a pretty new development for this character. This character, I think, before this was just a human. She was a allied to the mutants, but no more than that. I also think has recently been dead. They'll have something about that on the timeline. Also, she starts like she's aware once she's like in her mother's womb, which is interesting. It sounds horrifying. Apparently, it's not, but I don't believe
Yeah, I'm
her.
not convinced. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
convinced by her argument. There's something about the motherhood in there. No, no,
yeah, nope.
no.
Yeah, I agree that being trapped in a dark thing, I don't know, it just does not sound fun. I would not want to be self-aware in a womb, but
Yeah, there's also later on, someone mentions that her power manifests once she's 13 or so. And this feels like her power manifesting right here. I guess it's a two-stage sort of thing.
yeah, so she still retains it, but I guess it doesn't activate where she can die and go back until she's 13. Well,
Yeah.
supposedly I guess we don't know that for sure, but that's what Destiny tells her.
Uh-huh. I mean,
Yes.
there's a bit. I think it might be right after this where she gets sick at the age of 13, or this was before when she had her first life, where she gets super sick one day when she's 13, and then she's fine the next. And I think it's implied that's when her powers awakened.
Yes.
Yeah, and they have it on the timeline thing at the end that her mutant powers awakens when she's 13. So yeah, I think that's the implication is that it's awakening then.
Yeah. I mean, waking up in the womb with memories of your past life sounds pretty damn awakened to me. But yeah,
Yeah, I would agree, but
bit
uh,
of awkward writing, I think there.
yeah. I don't love this next section where they kind of just explain everything on these like two text pages. I think using these to kind of convey information that would be kind of clunky to convey otherwise is good. This kind of feels like they probably should have showed some of this stuff. But
Yeah,
also, I feel like they're doing a lot in a very, or Hickman seems like he's doing a lot in this very limited page count. So I'm not gonna harp on it too hard.
yeah. One of the things Chris mentioned that is mentioned here is she ran experiments to make sure that she wasn't hallucinating her memories, and that she was able to notice that if she became an active participant, that things would change. But by this point, in her second life, I think she'd become something like nearly kind of prodigy because she was able to leverage all her knowledge from her previous life. So I wonder what she could be passive with that stayed the same if by this time she had taken a completely different route in her life.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I guess like in events where she's just an unknown factor, it would work. But yeah, I feel like it does kind of mention that she tried hard not to stand out, but like you're not really going to succeed at that when you're trying to do like first grade math when you have like this knowledge of all this other stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I have to say, she shockingly takes this very well, all things considered. Considering she remembers her first life, she knew even when she was very early in her second life that she didn't need to let people know how smart she was because she knew it would scare them.
Yeah,
uh huh.
it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I would agree with that also. We're gonna get to it pretty soon, but she doesn't know she's a mutant by this point. She doesn't have a word for it. She knows she is clearly very different than everybody else, but she doesn't know why.
Right.
Yeah,
So we want to let's go into the next section here.
Yeah. So, continuing with her second life, she comes to the conclusion that this is a curse, and that she's wondering if there are others like her that are out here ruining the world, just like she is. And as she's considering this, she sees on television one day a Charles Xavier explaining to the world that he is a mutant with superpowers. And she finally gets it, and it clicks, and she understands that she is a mutant. And unfortunately for her, her second life ends as she hops on a plane to go meet Charles Xavier, and the plane crashes into the ocean.
womp womp.
Yeah, I do like this. I like that they just have like a random death that she did not earn in here. Just kind of random circumstance happened.
Hmm.
Like sucks for her, but that's a fun touch, I think.
Yeah, still she's pretty damn efficient because in her third life, as we will see, she gets pretty far.
Yes, beginning her third life, she more aggressively pursues science, and she decides to go to the same university that Charles Xavier does. And she finds that she doesn't like him at all, and that he has a very, very thinly veiled god complex. Eh,
I wanna take this exact quote here. It's along with the arrogance of Xavier's idea and what she felt was his thinly disguised god complex. She hates this dude.
mhm. And the panel here is really well done. You can tell she really does not care for him. She looks very annoyed when he's talking.
Yeah, does not seem a big fan of Charles. Thinks his ideas are nonsense.
Yeah, I guess her experience with her powers isn't as positive as Xavier's. So she's trying to, I guess she's trying to find someone who relates to her suffering, but she doesn't really see that reflected in Xavier.
Yeah, but we kind of skipped over this, but they touch on this in her second life, where she tried to end up in a relationship with the husband she had in her first life, but just because of the familiarity with sorry, just because with the familiarity with them, she like it just did not work. The relationship just didn't take off at all. He saw the disdain in her eyes when she was like able to identify things that annoyed her about him that he would never change for. And yeah, that doesn't sound fun.
Hmm. I can see why you would hate something like that, especially if you end up dying in a plane crash and you come back. I would not be taking it as well as she was. Um, and for her third life, she does end up going in a different direction after meeting with Xavier. She decides that because this mutant thing is a curse, then why don't solve it? Why doesn't she just solve it? So she dedicates her life to finding a cure for being a mutant, and she succeeds but is unable to actually use it, as her lab and the scientists she works with are all brutally murdered, as we see Mystique and two new characters, Destiny and Pyro, enter the scene.
Yeah, if you thought dying in a plane crash was bad,
Yeah. Um,
It's gonna get a lot worse.
we got they got Avalanche shown in the background too, but yeah, these three are the main characters in this little exchange, especially Mystique and Destiny.
Yes, and especially Destiny. She introduces herself to Moira, and she is a mutant who can see the possible futures laid out before her. So she can see what will happen or what may happen. And she knows that with this mutant cure that Moira has made, that mutants are going to get erased, and she's not about to stand for that. So they
yeah.
find her, and Destiny gives her an ultimatum. Because Destiny is older than her, she is always going to be aware of Moira's existence. So Moira either has to work for the benefit of mutants, or if she tries to do something like this again, Destiny will hunt her down and kill her for all of her lives to come.
So if Destiny knows the future almost as well as Moira does, partially, why isn't Destiny the one who's like moving the chess pieces to try to counter what's coming?
I honestly think this is partially a bluff. Like I do think there's part of it that's true. I'm sure she had when Moira became a threat, she was probably like, that's kind of odd. But for the most part, I kind of think this is bullshit.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think it,
But
because Destiny seems to be kind of like the perfect counter to Moira's power set,
yes.
and we haven't seen her in any other kind of timeline before, or like in the stuff we've read. So I wonder if she's coming back, if it's gonna have any relevance, because those powers seem almost as useful as Moira's.
yeah, she's another character that I think we last saw her dying. Um, but that doesn't seem to really stop this run so far. So I guess we'll see. Um, but yeah, this conversation's kind of horrifying. Uh, and Moira even kind of calls Destiny out on this that this might be a bluff, and Destiny is just kind of like, "Hey, you can try if you want." And Moira does not want to take that bet.
No, because as much as she does not like being a mutant, she doesn't want to constantly die all the time either. And there's another part of that that's really interesting is as Destiny is telling her that she needs to work for the benefit of mutants, she tells her that specifically that your powers give you a version of immortality. I want you to know that they do not. I see 10 lives, Moira, maybe 11 if you make the right choice, but at the end, that is all.
Do we think
Is
she literally sees 10 lives? Like, is she looking at the kind of diagram that we get after this, where we get like the different lives she's living? Do you think Destiny has access to all of that, or is it just the future in this timeline and she's kind of figuring it out as she goes along?
I'm guessing the fact that she specified the amount of lives she has means she has some idea of it. Um, I was always kind of confused on if this meant 10 like reboots or 10 actual lives, but just how this is phrased makes me think it's like the actual like lives lived. So this will be life 10, and if Destiny is telling the truth, she might get one more after this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But also importantly, it gives her a timer, which for her, she hasn't mentioned it at all leading up to this, but she is effectively immortal. As long as she is alive after the age of 13, she can always come back. But to make her point very, very clear, Destiny has her son, Pyro, come in and very, very slowly burn Moira to death, so she will remember what it feels like to die and know that if she messes up again, Destiny will find this and do it again.
This Pyro is not Destiny's actual son.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
I learned something. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just a cheeky line of dialogue. Yeah, that's they are not related. I don't believe.
Hey, you know what? It works to make that situation a whole lot worse, considering he just burns her right after that line.
Yes, they are. This is, I believe, in the era where they were the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, so they were pretty loyal to Destiny and Mystique around this time.
Hmm. Okay.
Um, she also kind of refers to her as like a mutant that's invisible to other mutants.
Yes, I saw that. I don't understand what it means. I can kind of see that in relation to Destiny, because Destiny can see possible futures, but when it comes to Moira, she's more of a blank spot, is how she described it. So I can see that for her powers, but I'm not sure how that relates to all other mutants.
I'm guessing it kind of works like in a similar way. Like Xavier wasn't able to like pick her up on Cerebro or anything because again, up till this point, like in canon, she has been known as a human. And there's a lot of ways I believe you could probably figure out if she was a mutant or not. So I do believe this is a power she has in addition.
Yeah, I could see that. That would make a lot of sense, actually. And that's another piece of this that I wanted to touch on, that rewriting her into being a mutant doesn't suddenly make all of her old stories that she's in, that doesn't erase them. They're still canon and they still make sense, which I think is really really well done as for writing, considering this is a huge change for her character.
Yeah, this is a pretty different take on this character in general. Um, all right, do we have anything else about the third life, or do we want to go into a little bit further?
Nothing in particular, other than this is the whole sequence of Destiny, Mystique, and Moira talking here is really, really good. This goes for the entire issue, but it's just a really fast, snappy pace. And every time you finish a page, you want to keep going to the next one just to see what's going to happen because it keeps escalating as you go on, and as we're going to see.
It reminds me, it's not nearly the same thing, but it does give me like vibes of the scene with Nimrod and Silabel, where you kind of have Destiny playing off Mystique, and they have someone like Moira who really doesn't have much of a choice about her fate.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, for Moira's fourth life, her life began with urgency. She threw herself into understanding the human mutant dilemma and came to view it more in a positive light. She even decided to meet up with Xavier again and started to consider his ways as maybe something that could work out, and she ended up actually falling in love with him.
Moira's gonna do a X-Men any percent speedrun.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. This timeline, aside from Moira marrying Xavier, seems pretty similar to the one that we're in currently. Uh, you kind of see these different eras of mutants here. The Gifted Years is like the original five in the Stan Lee run. The Time of Hate and Fear is like Claremont era X-Men, and the Lost Decade is the Phoenix Five from like the Avengers versus X-Men stuff, and that's kind of funny to refer to that as the Lost Decade. Uh, yeah, and then Xavier just dies, and Moira also dies in a Sentinel attack.
Yes, so she is finally able to find something positive, but unfortunately, the humans and their machines catch up with them, and that is the end of her fourth life.
I really do like, even if I'm not that familiar with the franchise, calling back to previous iterations of the team like this in these next pages, not only this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is really good. And I think it's a good example of why the tradition. This is pretty much showing the traditional idea of the X Men and what Xavier's ideal for it would not end up working. But yeah, it's a nice callback here.
And so, for Moira's fifth life, after being murdered by humans and their machines, she decided that aggression was the only acceptable response. She ran away from home at the age of 13 and found Xavier when he was much younger, and ended up showing him her past life, and it ended up radicalizing him. So instead of creating a school for mutants, as he normally does, he made a legion of mutants. And they lived in their own city, protected from the outside world, until Bolivar Trask's adaptive learning machines came and ended them.
Yeah, so this is one of the ones that we get like a little bit more detail on it in the timeline section at the end. This was apparently a mutant nation called Far Away, and yeah, these Sentinels just showed up and committed genocide here.
Yeah, so
Um,
about the same result as last timeline. Really
yeah,
not much difference.
Hmm. Yeah, even though instead of taking the more aggressive route, they were still murdered in the end.
Uh-huh.
And something I really love about this is we go from her 5th life into her 7th life. There is a complete gap of her 6th life, and it's not mentioned in this comic at all until the very end, where there is a nice timeline spread of all of her 10 lives, and there's just a gap where her 6th life is. There's no explanation, there's no comment on it, she just doesn't talk about it.
I'm sure it won't come out later.
yeah, definitely not.
Hmm.
That's definitely will not be relative.
I did have a guess on it. I would assume that after failing twice with the pacifist route and then the aggressive route, I imagine her life wasn't that great coming out of that.
I would assume not. You
Oh, you're
gotta,
saying it was the goth timeline.
Yes,
yeah. Look, sometimes you gotta just go off and just be emo for an
for a
entire life.
lifetime. Hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come back into your 7th life, you decide to eradicate an entire family and their bloodline.
yeah. We've gotten our pop punk phase out of the way, and now we gotta turn into an assassin.
Hmm. And she does it very effectively. She hunts down the Trask bloodline, which traditionally is the family that creates the Sentinel program, which are the giant robots that we've seen end Moira's life twice now. And unfortunately, after killing that entire family, she learns by the end of that life that machines are not tied to a creator, they are tied to a moment in time. So, despite doing her best to stop them from being created, they still happened. And that was something that she took with her for the rest of her lives to come.
Yeah, she refers to this not as it's not a it's a discovery. It's not an invention. So it's something that they are just going to make eventually, like fire.
Hmm.
Um, I'm personally glad that Moira had a timeline where she decided to become Black Widow.
You know what? I'm also all for that because she's got the outfit and everything too, and she did a really good job at it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how good of a job. According to the timeline here, it took her a couple years to get all these kills done, but
True, and I mean, even in the end, the Sentinels were created anyway, so
yeah,
she, she just kind of learned something, and that was about it.
she found the master mold facility and then immediately died.
Yeah, it's funny how at the end of this page, it says this whole experience radicalized her, like it hadn't happened before. After
Yeah,
sixth life, this was the one.
you're on life 8. Like you weren't radicalized yet.
Yeah, that I understand why they worded it that way because you can tell going forward that she really hates the Sentinels and the robots, and this has now been the 3rd life of hers taken from them. So I can understand that radicalizing her, but it is kind of an odd wording considering not all of her lives end that way.
Yeah, it's like I could maybe see like, oh yeah, maybe after life 4 we should just try another route. But after life 5, where she witnessed a genocide, um, maybe it's time to be radical. But we get that in life 8, I guess.
We do, because instead of going for Charles Xavier, she decides maybe I'll try buddying up with Magneto. And she goes to him and fills his mind with future holocausts, war lost and people destroyed, which, for Magneto being as pro-mutant as he is, he didn't take well at all. Unfortunately, all of the heroes of the planet decided to work against both of them, and they did not make it very far into her 8th life.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about this is even the mutants kind of banded up with the heroes here. It makes sense. This absolutely seems like something Xavier's X-Men without any kind of like other knowledge would have an issue with.
It's, oh, Magneto is trying to kill the humans again. Let's go stop him. He's being a bad guy.
Yeah.
What's up with Magneto's cool throne?
Oh, I know. It's great. It's a fucking octopus. I don't know what this is. It feels almost Hydra-ish, but I don't think it is. And I don't see Magneto ever being part of that organization, but yeah, this looks really cool.
Yeah, just wondering if it was a callback to something in particular. He's got
I
this cool throne in this palace in the middle. I think we're gonna learn this is in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yes,
Um,
I'm pretty sure I remember the story where this is from, but I honestly do not remember his throne room from it.
hmm, yeah, looking at the shot of the palace when Moira's like approaching it, that looks really phallic.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
yeah, extremely phallic.
Yeah, we'll leave that for other analysts, other
Yeah,
podcasts.
To see what that says about Magneto, that he needs a massive palace to compensate. So, with Magneto having failed and Xavier having failed, she went with the next option that she had, and one that she seemingly didn't want to go with. But she allied herself with Apocalypse. And together, they decided that if the humans wanted a war and if the machines wanted a war, they would give it to them. And it's implied that they started an endless war that ended up consuming her until she died.
there is a shot here of Captain America, Captain Marvel, and Iron Man laying seemingly dead on the ground. Um, so yeah, they went pretty scorched earth here. Um, this one's interesting. It doesn't seem to Apocalypse is firing on a Nimrod here, and we also don't really get a conclusion to this one. They just said it's war without end.
Uh huh. Sounds like she got the bad end. Not a
Yeah,
game over, but
Yes.
not the outcome she was hoping for.
yeah.
Yes.
Also, who's Apocalypse?
I was gonna ask you if how much you knew about him, and what you took away from his introduction here, because they really don't explain who he is at all. He just shows up and looks very intimidating.
All I
Uh,
know about Apocalypse is when you discard him from your hand, you get he gets 4 more power.
Apocalypse is a very, very, very old mutant who, his main thing is he believes in survival of the fittest, and he wants the mutants to be the best, and he wants them to be above the humans, essentially. Um, a lot of times he will attack mutants specifically to test them. I honestly haven't read that much into him, but he is kind of like will usually be in the final boss role for a lot of X-Men stuff.
And Sergio, I did want to ask you, since you didn't know Apocalypse going into this, was this section at all? Did it make sense essentially going into this, or was it a little confusing why she ended up going with him?
No, I guess it gives me enough to have an inkling of what his deal is. Extremely powerful, very kind of last resource kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But it really doesn't give him much to go on beyond that.
Yeah,
Just a powerful guy going scorched earth on everything as a last resource.
Mm-hmm.
we have a quote from him that kind of started at the beginning, or that was at the beginning of this issue, and it's, "If you can find it in you to survive, if you are worthy, then I will make you into something more than them, something eternal." So yeah, that's just kind of what his whole deal is.
Mm-hmm. And we are going to see more of him in Powers of X2 that we'll talk about when it comes up. But I do think this gives a pretty good overview of who he is. He is the war option, whereas Magneto was also an aggression option, but not as effective. And Xavier kind of was more of the let's be friends and coexist. So it's giving you all of these different potential routes for mutants to go, but we see again and again and again it ends in failure. It ends in genocide and everybody dying.
Yeah, Magneto seems to me like um, an antagonist that still has a semblance of like ideology, while this guy doesn't seem to be much interested in the arguing part.
No, yeah, he just wants to be dominant.
Hmm.
uh, Magneto definitely does have beliefs and ideology, where it doesn't really seem to have that much of apocalypse.
No, and like you said, Tim, his philosophy is survival of the fittest taken to its most extreme, and even then, that's barely a philosophy for him. It's just an excuse for him to go and beat the shit out of something.
I can respect that.
Yeah, you know, sometimes you got to beat the shit out of something.
Mm.
Um, so we get her last life here, life 10, the current one.
Yes, at the end of her life with Apocalypse, we get two panels of just black nothing, and then she is aware again in the womb. And it gives it a description of what she's thinking. And she decided to do something truly revolutionary, and she decided that she and Charles Xavier would break the rules this time, since she was on her 10th and possibly last life. And when we go to our next two pages, it is a exact copy from House of X #1 when Moira and Xavier are talking at the fair that they're at, and she seems to hint that she knows him more, and we get the same full page panel of her reading his mind, or of him reading her mind, and the last panel is him just looking surprised. And now finally we have the backstory of that and what he saw.
Yeah. Before we move on, just I thought it was extremely funny that she kind of decides to go with this new approach in the womb. So you get this evil mastermind, chess master look from this
Oh yeah, her
embryo in the womb,
just opening her
which is.
eyes. Like,
She looks at the camera like she's Kira from Death Note,
yeah.
except she's a baby. It's extremely good.
Yes, I love them recontextualizing this conversation between Moira and Xavier too. Like now that we know exactly what Xavier is mostly seeing here, it's like, yeah, it's a pretty appropriate reaction.
Yeah, and we're about to get a lot more of detail regarding the lore of this, but I think this is a really solid, kind of self contained issue. I think this is a pretty good introduction. Like, I might be tempted to, if I were to show this to someone else, start here rather than at the beginning, because it's just nice. It's really well told. It's interesting. Real good stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think this it tells you exactly what you need to know about this character and exactly what her deal is. It's very effective at what it's doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not that the in media res approach of the previous issues didn't work, but I really like this single story being told. Uh, it's compelling stuff. It's introducing a lot of characters, and Moira is a really good character. I feel like. So yeah, I really enjoyed this.
We get a kind of an overview of the timelines on the next page, which I think is kind of interesting. There's a couple of details that I feel like they kind of scooted past that are pretty interesting. In her life with Apocalypse, they actually had Apocalypse apparently kill Xavier and Magneto, which is like goddamn Moira.
Hmm.
Um, life 10, I'm thinking what had happened here is there was a period in the Claremont run where Magneto became an X-Men, and I think what the implication here is that's when Moira and Xavier recruited him, but Xavier had to go off to space for a little bit because comics, and Magneto heel turned again, and I think that's what the schism is.
Hmm.
Hmm. Interesting. I actually didn't know that.
I think I could be absolutely wrong, but just that feels like that's where it fits.
Yeah,
Um,
there's some other stuff like she was in a coma in her fifth life.
Right, yeah. She actually didn't die when Magneto fell in Life 8, but then died later in a prison escape.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff here.
Hmm.
I honestly wish they would expand on these, but also like I don't know how much you could tell, or I don't know how much the additional details would really add to this. I guess it's kind of just like a nice footnote of, oh, she was up to some shit.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And especially in the context of the first two issues that we read, which is building up to a mutant nation, which is building up to all of this stuff, and then suddenly, instead of continuing on that, they take a break for a second and explain, hey, here's this other character. She was trying everything else and nothing worked. So she's going to do something different this time. It just brings up all these questions of, okay, then what is she going to do? What is this plan that she has that she and Xavier are going to try and enact?
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of like detective stories lately, and it's not like this is a detective story, but it gives you the feeling of her having the answers and she's withholding it from the audience. So I think there's an element of like what's she planning? What does she know that you don't?
Yes, especially considering she's been all over. I mean, she was with Apocalypse and started an endless war for years. So she's done everything. So it's very unclear as to what her actual current stance is. We know what her past ones were, but not where she is now.
Yeah, Moira has played around with the majority of the ideologies. It feels like.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's used all the strats, and she's kind of in her last attempt. So we'll see how she does this time.
Hmm. And that is the end of House of X #2. It's an excellent issue that I highly recommend anybody read. Honestly, it's, as Sergio and Tim were both saying, it's really good start to finish. It's got a great pace to it. The art is wonderful, and it just goes by so quickly when you read it because you just want to see what keeps happening.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, something that I forgot to mention was I really like the cover on this one. There's this like kaleidoscopic um thing
Oh yeah,
with
the
different Moiras like spreading out from the center. It's really good looking.
yeah, I agree. I really like the cover here too. We want to go into Powers of X.
Sure, I'm ready to go
Yeah,
into Powers of X if you guys are.
yeah, especially because it follows pretty much directly from where we just left off.
Yes. So, for Powers of X #2, We Are Together Now, You and I, written, of course, by Jonathan Hickman, and it was released in August of 2019. We open up at the X-Men Year 1 with Moira and Xavier going to Magneto's island and meeting with him to ask him if he would like to join together with them and try something different this time.
I feel like we should specify it's the Bermuda Triangle because I don't know this spiel that Magneto starts with. I'm like, man, how long were you sitting here waiting for him to show up so you could say
Right?
this?
I had the
Like,
same exact thoughts.
yeah,
Like he's just loitering around in this island, waiting for someone to come talk to him in the most like grandiose way possible. We saw it
they
already on the last issue of House of X with Magneto kind of waiting for the ambassadors or representatives to be at the top of the building with the magnificent sunset behind him. I feel like he has an eye for theatrics.
yeah, but
He's definitely waiting for the right moment to deploy his grandiose speech.
yeah, Magneto is just incredibly dramatic.
Uh huh.
Um, like, but you are beyond the superstitions of man, and though lost, I know you have never lost your way. Like, he was waiting for that. He wanted to use that line so bad.
Hmm.
Uh huh.
Like,
He's sitting there trying to go to bed, just writing out his lines that he's gonna say. He's like, "Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna hang on to that one."
Yeah, this whole section is written like that. Like, you get a like urban fantasy vibe from the rest of what we've read so far. But this whole section is written like it's some sort of epic confrontation, and both Moira and Xavier are kind of using Magneto's affect, and I wonder if that's kind of them playing mind games with him. Like he's going to go along with their plan more easy if they speak his language.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I do get that impression. Like, they seem to be going into this knowing how he's going to respond.
Hmm.
Uh huh.
And knowing that Magneto is obviously going to say, well, no, I'm not going to work with you. We have different ways of viewing these things. They ask Magneto to remove his helmet, and Xavier shows him all of Moira's past lives.
He
And
does not have a good time while
Yeah,
being shown these visions.
they say check this shit out, and he sees himself in chains and getting killed by a sentinel, and yeah, not a great time for Magneto here.
I do like the weird getup he has in chains.
Yeah, I believe that's also a callback.
It
But
has to be.
yeah, that's real good. I'm pretty sure that was they put Magneto on trial because, of course.
of course they did. But yeah, that outfit is a choice, and it's not a good one.
Oh, I couldn't disagree anymore.
Oh
This
no, it's
it's
great.
great.
It's just a giant
Oh,
M.
really?
Yeah, like, yeah.
The
Yeah.
giant M is so silly. It's an M all the way from his shoulders down to like past his waist. It's really ostentatious.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
But they show him all of these futures, and Xavier responds that her truth is profound and life changing. And because of this, he's decided that maybe they try something different this time and they work together to create a space not only where mutants can survive, but also to where they can thrive. And through this conversation, he agrees. And they decide that they're actually going to work together going forward.
I do like this exchange a lot. I think it conveys a lot about the relationship. Magneto has always had a pretty healthy respect for Charles, and he wants to work with them. So it doesn't feel very out of character at all for him to take the hand here.
Hmm. And something I wanted to note through this whole thing is Magneto, having the flair for the dramatic, is usually standing in doorways or something, just looking very intimidating. But I think it was a very specific choice to draw him where, with his helmet on, you don't see his face at all. It's completely in shadow for most of this conversation until he takes it off and Moira shows him what happened. And then you see his face and you see what he thinks before he finally puts it back on at the end and it's in shadow once more. I think it's to really emphasize that he is trying to be intimidating and scary and he is a blank face with no emotion. But underneath it all, he cares. He really does want to work together, like Tim said. It's just Magneto sees it one way and Xavier cannot give up working with humanity.
Yeah, and again, like I think it's also like a way to humanize him. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is the persona when he has his helmet on. It is specifically to block out telepathy. It's his way of closing himself off by taking off the helmet. That's like him lowering his guard. He is open to what Charles is saying here. Yeah, it's good stuff. I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. No, just a really good exchange overall. And as we
Yeah.
go to the next part, we have the X-Men Year 10, which is currently where we are. The data drive that Mystique and Sabretooth got is finally deciphered, and Magneto and Xavier show Cyclops what was found on it, and it is the plans for a mother mold, which is the giant space station that we saw up flying around the sun. And they explain to him that it is a robot that can create other robots, essentially. And we
Yeah, they read the info feature that we got in House of X1 regarding Orchis. Orchis? How's that
Yes.
pronounced?
I believe it's Orcus. I could absolutely be mispronouncing that, but I think it's that.
Yeah, we do get a little bit of a rehash of that information about how Orcus is set up. Something I thought that was actually kind of interesting is they explain a bunch of the organizations, and then Magneto explains that that Orcus is put together, and they are so drawn together by their hatred of mutants that a lot of them are willing to turn their nose away and Operation Paperclip in some of the Hydra.
Yes,
Uh,
he straight up just mentions Operation Paperclip. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a funny way to put it.
yeah, it's good stuff, but yeah, this is pretty much what we were kind of we got into this a little bit last issue too, but yeah, it's we just Operation Paperclipped in some Nazis here.
Hmm.
Yes, and to those that don't know what Operation Paperclip is, it is a U.S. intelligence operation during the beginning of the Cold War to bring over Nazi scientists and officials so they could work for the government against Russia, and they just wanted to keep it really hush hush. So he's directly calling out that they're working with Nazis because they hate us that much.
Yeah.
So Cyclops basically jokes around with them, saying, of course, they're going to make Sentinels to come and kill us. What's the big deal? And Xavier and Magneto say, no, you don't understand. This is where we think Nimrod comes online. And they show a picture of the Nimrod that we've been seeing in the future up on the screen. And Cyclops seems to understand the importance of this just by that, even though it's not explained, to us at least, at this point in time, why it's bad that Nimrod is going to come online.
So the Nimrod they've encountered before this, they might have encountered one later, but the one I always remember, there was a Nimrod during the Claremont era that time traveled back in time and fought the X-Men and the Hellfire Club at the same time and just kind of bodied all of them and killed a couple. So, yeah, this thing is a threat. The X-Men are not Nimrod fans.
I think even despite not knowing that history, Cyclops' reaction alone is enough to explain, okay, yeah, Nimrod's bad. We should not have Nimrod come online. And
Yeah,
it helps also that in Powers of X #1, we see what Nimrod can do, and you can't stop him. He keeps going.
yeah, the exchange here is real good. He mentions like he's being kind of snarky about it. They're like they mentioned this is Nimrod, and he just goes from snark to oh damn.
Yeah, and I have to say, as not the biggest Cyclops fan in the world, I really like how this sequence ends, because they reveal that it's Nimrod, and Xavier gets more serious for a second and says that this has to be stopped. And Magneto says again that they're going to be far away around the sun, surrounded by people who have gotten together solely to kill mutants, and that this is essentially going to be a suicide mission. And instead of saying anything else, the first thing that Cyclops asks is, does it need doing? And when Xavier says yes, he says, then it'll be done. Nothing more than that. And I actually really appreciate I don't want to say it's dedication, it's almost like blind faith that he has that this needs to be done, therefore I will do it for you.
I think
Yeah,
this
real cool guy moment.
Yes.
yeah I think this is a lot about Cyclops too, or Xavier and how they view Cyclops. This dude fires laser blast from his eyes. It's not exactly the most top tier power, but this is the dude we're calling on for this mission. This is how much we trust him to get this done.
Hmm. And I almost wouldn't say it's not even just trust. It's knowing that he believes in them so much that he'll do it.
Yeah,
Right.
and it seems to go both ways. Both Xavier and Magneto seem to have enough faith in Cyclops that this is the guy to do this, and Cyclops is like, yeah, I'll do it for you.
Yeah. I wonder where their knowledge of Nimrod comes from. I guess it's implied that it might be from Moira, who might have seen Nimrod in some of her previous timelines.
Yeah,
Yes.
they also do know that eventually one gets created because they fought one that time traveled. But yeah, they're aware that a Nimrod can happen.
Yes,
Hmm.
but you are
But
right that this seems very specific because they don't say, we believe Nimrod might be here. It's, we think this is where he will become operational. It's a very specific wording that implies that they have a general idea of when he's supposed to come online.
Yeah, they know how things are gonna go.
Yeah.
This thing just seems like real bad news in general. It's a master mold that creates other master molds.
Hmm.
But
Which
yeah,
which master molds create sentinels, so it's just
yeah,
robots creating robots, and
It's
nonstop.
robots all the way down.
yeah.
Yes. And I do want to call out the art on this because it seems like Krakoa has this really fascinating plant based technology going on. Xavier is showing and getting all of this data and putting it on screen using this like tree based interface. It's really cool to look at. And I'm really hoping we see more of it because I really love it.
Yeah, I think we saw a bit of that last issue when we saw the mutants being transported to Krakoa. There was this
Yeah,
UI that they were working on, or some protocols that they were working on for the communication and travel, and it also showed this same sort of interface.
right, the tree computer.
Yes.
Um. Anyway, speaking of where there's no trees,
Yes, speaking of no trees, we now go into the future at year 100 back on Asteroid K. We have Wolverine talking to the old man that was mentioned in the first issue and explains that Silabel and Percival, the two mutants that were in the beginning, are very likely dead at this point. But they got the data that was asked and they hand it over, and we see that the old man is in fact Apocalypse. And he explains to these mutants that if it were up to him, he would sacrifice all of them for the data that he just recovered.
yeah, this seems pretty important. Although they do kind of call into doubt here if this is going to be useful without Percival. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what this ends up actually doing. But interesting that Apocalypse is still kicking around here.
We then go to the Tower of Nimrod the Lesser again, and Nimrod is speaking to two human hunters, just talking and talking, and one of the hunters talks back to him, even though he doesn't quite mean to, and Nimrod, not really taking this well, turns around and completely disintegrates both of them before going back, picking up the human skull, and continuing his conversation about how he knows how mutants work, but he does not quite understand why they took the data that they did.
This poor dude that didn't mouth off. His facial expression just as the other dude is saying his line is just pure like horror.
Yeah,
Like,
these two are just goobers.
yeah, it's
You didn't
Yes,
have to kill them, Nimrod.
like it's just two dudes just get absolutely smoked. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good exchange. Again, Nimrod's fucking scary.
yes. I think it's just here to reinforce that Nimrod is terrifying. You don't joke with him, you do not fight him, just try your best to keep away from the guy.
Yeah, he'll monologue to your skull if he wants to.
Yeah, he looks at the screen when he's doing his monologue, and he's looking at a very specific image of some of like four people kneeling down on the ground. Is that a specific callback to something? Was that from Powers of X #1?
Let me.
I want to say it's implied that this is when they broke in, the four of them, before they were captured and separated, also before Percival got killed.
Is he looking at like security footage?
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is like Rasputin and all that. This
Yeah.
feels like it's just them
Okay, that makes sense.
because they implied that Percival's ability kind of made them invisible to what was going on around here. So I'm
Yes.
guessing with him gone, he was able to pull this stuff.
Yeah. But once Nimrod does that and questions why the mutants stole what they did, we thankfully get the answer right after as we go back to Asteroid K and we learn that this massive plant individual from the first issue is Krakoa itself, having taken over the dead body of Cypher, the mutant that we met in House of X #1 who could talk to Krakoa. So things didn't go very well for him.
Yeah, they don't mention him exactly by name, but they this body once belonged to a mutant who could communicate with anything. Like that's Cipher.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Yeah, this all makes a lot more sense now.
So yeah, that was one of the dudes that was working with the interface last in like the first House of X issue.
Yes,
Right.
he was the one standing in front of the wall full of eyes. That was Cypher.
Um,
And there's even an eye here in the interface he's interacting with to grab the data.
Yes, which is kind of unsettling and creepy, but you know what? I respect it. This is a very messed up future. I will take a weird eyeball projector.
this other dude we also get confirmation is Zorn. He monologues to a flower. Um, it's a real interesting thing because at first it feels like he's giving a speech about hope, and then you see the flower decay, and you realize when he was talking about leaving something for the next generation, he wants to deal a big enough blow where they remember this shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if there was a pessimist on the team, it seems like it's Zorn.
Yeah, like he's not interested in hope. He's just let's be assholes and pain in the ass until we die.
Yes, and
Uh huh.
there's a line from him coming up that's really good, that I will get to shortly. But essentially, they decode the data and they explain by talking to one another that instead of stealing the data itself, they stole an archival machine. So they stole an index machine, which is their way of deciphering it and then finally finding the location of the thing that they really want to steal.
Yes, they kind of explain a little bit here, like they would be endlessly searching for data even if we pulled everything from that day. It's still like everything that happened the machine's cataloged. So this was how they figured out specifically where what they were looking for was located.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
this makes sense.
Mhm. And once they find the data, they actually pull it up on screen here, and we can see part of it. And it actually mentions that the data they're looking for is a version of Nimrod dated to 2019. So it seems like they are looking for information around the current timeline of when Krakoa is being created and when this nation state is starting to take off.
Right.
Yeah.
Wolverine also mentions this is going to be a suicide mission. We're probably not getting back with this shit with Percival dead. So yeah, this dude seemed important.
Yes. And we finally get my favorite Zorn line is after Wolverine essentially says that this is going to be a suicide mission. Zorn says, "I've never been more excited for anything in my entire life." So
Yeah,
despite all the doom and gloom, somebody's excited about what's going to happen.
they're going to go up blasting.
And Apocalypse cuts in here and monologues for a little bit and says that they are going to do this, they're going to succeed and make it back because he is going to lead them in the mission.
Yep, to see if we are fit to survive. Um, yep, he's Apocalypse gonna go do Apocalypse stuff, I guess.
Yeah, we kind of I've already seen a glimpse of what he's capable of, so we'll see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
This
And
seems to be a way more focused mission than just wage war on everybody. So we'll see how he
Yes,
does in this other sort of task.
mm-hmm.
instead of kill everything that moves.
Yes.
Um, Want to talk about some techno shit?
Oh boy, yes. So the next 2 pages is more information just kind of dumped on us. And we are told about Nimbus, which was once called Nibiru, which was a frozen gas giant that the man machine supremacy turned into a world mind. That's the short answer of it. The longer answer is essentially they decided that after being invaded by a infestation from a different galaxy, they decided that they needed the protection of a far larger and far more powerful civilization and decided to take the what was it?
It
It
was
was
they modeled it after the Kree intelligence pretty much. They got a bunch of super smart humans or like artists and dumped them all into the same mind and then fired them off into space.
yes, they
They
sent
were
it.
post humans, not
Right.
humans.
Oh, right, post-humans. Okay.
I was
Yes.
confused about this because I wasn't sure when this happened, but it happened on the kind of further end of the spectrum in terms of time we have seen, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing too, especially with post-humans existing, because that's yeah,
Yeah.
this sounds like some far future shit. So they dumped them all into an AI, fired them off into space. Apparently, whatever the heck they were, stopped to eat some moons, and then
Hmm.
made it to this planet and converted this frozen gas giant into a artificial intelligence.
And that's just
Yes.
a very, very small taste of the whole bunch of technology talk that we're going to get to in this next part. But yeah, all you need to know is that in the future, they made a giant gas giant into a very, very large computer, essentially.
Yeah, and this was kind of a show of strength to attract an ally.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were trying to get a protector.
Yes. And we see the results of that as we get to the year 1000 and we see the librarian again. And this character is asking Nimrod if they succeeded. And Nimrod talks a little bit about what we just discussed. And he says, "Does it work? I think we're about to find out," as this massive black mass is descending over this futuristic city. And it kind of sends out a little bit of itself and it coalesces into these three beings that identify themselves as the Phalanx. The Phalanx describes that they ate the world mind and they saw those that actually created it and decided to come to this planet, to its creators, to see what they wanted. And the individual that they're talking to simply replies that they want ascension.
Yeah, this is giving me some strong like childhood and human instrumentality.
Yeah, this is some let's combine everything into artificial intelligence. We're just got to get some Evangelion going on here. I'm gonna turn the
Everyone's
entire
about to turn into goo.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just everyone turns into Tang. Um, wanna talk about the type of societies?
Oh boy.
I've
I will.
never been more excited for anything in my life, as Soren would say.
I will certainly try. After we get that page, we get more information discussing the type of planetary and galactic intelligent societies that there are. Uh,
Yeah.
I'll I'll try my best to describe this, but basically you start with a basic intelligence unit of one, which is just a sentient being that's converted into a machine. And then you start combining more of those machines together, and you
Well,
just start shooting up.
yeah. The machine is also it can be a direct copy of an existing sentient being or the equivalent of a single sentient being.
Yeah. So
So,
let me pose a question to you. Do you think human society, as depicted in 2015 movie Chappie, is an S1
oh
society?
no, I have
Oh,
not seen Chappie.
oh no.
I feel
I
like
I know what Chappie is, but explain to me this joke, Sergio.
Chappie is just a guy. I feel like he fully qualifies. He makes humanity as portrayed in that movie qualify as an S1 or SI1 society,
He's at SI
which
one.
I
All
feel
right.
says a lot. Yes.
Okay. That just means if we get a million chappies together, we can have a phalanx.
Yeah, that's true. We just got to get a lot of Chappies.
That's
No,
how math works, yeah.
yeah, but once you get up to 10, you got to be careful. Any more than 10, and the hive collapses.
Y-
Apparently.
yes. It seems like most artificial intelligence societies in the Marvel universe, once they get more than 10 individuals, it usually doesn't work. But if they can break past that 10 barrier, they have a pretty open horizon from there. Once you get from 100 to about 10,000 intelligences together, you get something called an intelligence, which it describes a little bit that the Kree Supreme Intelligence is what this is. Which I'm curious, Sergio, did that make any sense at all to you as it's explaining that?
I kind of have to take it at face value, but yeah, it's just the Kree Supreme Intelligence, just
Hmm.
a bunch of minds melded together.
Yeah, I mean this is what they fired off into the planet. Like it's just just kind of
Right?
we
Yeah.
put a bunch of minds and threw them all into a vat, and now they're an intelligence.
Yes. And I think the more interesting part of this is once we get to the galactic level of societies, which is a technarch society, a world mind, and then a phalanx.
Explain Technarch real quick. I have some stuff about this.
Okay, so a technarch society is manufactured by a phalanx, but does not know that it is manufactured by a phalanx. It is a singular node, which is either like a world or an object, that is all underneath one magus or leader of that intelligence, and their whole thing is that they go about and kind of consume other civilizations, other worlds, and continue to grow itself.
Do you know which X-Men character is a Technarch?
Yes, I do. It is Warlock.
Yes. So there is a mutant Technarch that just hangs out with the X-Men, Sergio, named Warlock.
Oh,
Um, his father invaded the planet at one point, and they had to fight him off. His father was named Magus. So yeah, we've seen this shit before.
what makes him qualify as an X-Men or a mutant? I guess.
He he's not really part of the same hive mind, and he's like capable of like independent thought.
Okay,
Hmm.
but he's
So
not a mutated human.
right, he's like a mutated Technarch essentially.
Hmm. Sure.
Yes.
Okay.
The definition of mutant gets a little thin at some points, and they stretch it a little bit. But Warlock's
Yeah,
really neat. I actually like him as a character now that I've met him. We'll see him, I believe, at some point in this run, actually. So he should be showing up pretty soon.
Great. If the first, how did the first Technarch come about? If you needed a phalanx for it to exist, is this not supposed to be a progression?
I'm I'm going to say no. I don't know. It feels almost like I'm gonna say like when you get like this far up the galactic scale, it just gets kind of muddied.
Hmm.
Like it yeah, I don't know. It's like chicken or the egg type shit.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
And it's explained a little bit that in between the Technarch and the Phalanx is a world mind. It's usually a planet sized artificial intelligence that has been wholly converted into a singular intellect. And it's described as having a godlike intelligence and can act on a timeline of millennia, but it only represents a Type 2 civilization. So it's
Yes.
not the highest.
So this is the shit that they turned the planet into.
Yes. This
Yeah.
is Nimbus.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we get the big dog.
Yes, then we get the Phalanx, which we just met. They're an interstellar society that operates on a galactic scale and represents an intellect that has a total control of a host galaxy. So instead of just a single planet, it's multiple planets. And it's described that at this level, the intellect only exists to expand its own intelligence. And it does this by sending out technarchs, which go out into the world and self replicate and keep going. But if the technarch society finds something novel or interesting, they start building a Babel spire which calls the phalanx in so the phalanx can take over and incorporate whatever interesting thing that they found.
God, I hate it when the virus eventually produces a Babel spire.
Don't you
Yeah,
hate it?
yeah. Well, pretty much if the mostly correct, but yeah, it's the phalanx encounters something and they can either absorb it or be like, no, fuck off, and they send the Technarch after the society. Um, they also specify the techno-organic virus, which is something Cable has. I'm not really super familiar on my Cable lore. I'm guessing at some point a Phalanx showed up to the future and was like, "Nah, fuck this shit," and that's how Cable got his arm.
Yes, and Cable we will also meet at some point pretty soon. But his is a whole time travel future story of its own. All we need to know is that his metal arm is this virus.
Yeah, all I know about him is he gives you a random card from your enemy's hand.
That's actually a pretty good power.
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, yeah, so we must see by now. There is no you and I. There's only us. We are together, or we are nothing.
So, but that wraps up Powers of X #2. Definitely a really, really good start with House of X. Powers of X 2 is still, I don't want to say it's an odd beast. It's definitely still very interesting, but the different timelines that they're focusing on, it's very hard to see where this fits in with the entire picture that Hickman is going for, because there's still nothing connecting all of them together.
Yeah, it's not as tightly written, but I think it's still interesting. We get all these little vignettes of characters talking of each other. And yeah, I'm guessing all of this stuff is going to coalesce at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's all gonna. The idea seems to be it's all gonna eventually build into something else, but yeah, I don't
Yep.
know. It's solid issues. I enjoyed this week's quite a lot. I think House of X is the winner, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, for sure.
Yes,
Big fan
easily.
of Moira.
Same. Big fan of Moira. Just to see what he did with her character, and just to have it all work with her pre-existing, I still think is incredible with what he was able to do.
I do hope the extent of her plan goes beyond having Xavier and Magneto work together. I hope she still has like cards up her sleeve.
I would think so, considering their conversation there was not only do they want mutants to survive, but also to thrive. So I would guess that she has thought about this more, and instead of just hiding away somewhere so mutants can live, that she's got a much bigger plan in mind to make sure that mutants are happy.
Yeah, I really hope we see more of her like masterminding this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree
Well,
with you.
we might see more of that next week. Our reading order is going to be slightly different. It will be Powers of X3 and then House of X3. And then it gets back to normal after that. I don't know why it's weird for these issues, but there it is.
Yeah, we'll see what that's all about next week,
Mm-hmm.
or rather 2 weeks from now.
And hopefully, by the point that this episode comes out, Twitter is not a massive hole in the ground. We'll see. But you can find us on Twitter under Study of X. If Twitter for some reason is now non existent, you can also find us on Co-host under the same name and Tumblr under the same name as well.
Yeah, I love how we're dating this podcast by mentioning our
Mentioning
Twitter.
Twitter,
Yeah,
yep.
Right? Exactly.
might just not be a thing anymore by the time most people listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We'll see. Please don't find me on Twitter.
Yes,
No.
if you hear something in the attic and it starts talking about 90s era wrestling, please contact us because I'm pretty sure that's Tim and we do need to find him.
Yeah. We do not want him to turn into a technarch.
No, that would be really bad.
I personally want to turn into a technarch, but all right. We want to call it there.
Yeah. I feel like this is an episode.
All
Yeah.
right. See you guys next week.
Cool. Later, mutants.
2 weeks from now, not next week.
Oh, is that? Yep. It's 2 weeks from now. Is later mutants our sign off?
I was going to do it. I don't know.
All right. Say it again.
I'm not gonna stop you.
What? Give us one more.
Give us a clean one? Okay.
Yeah.
Later, mutants.
There we go.
Perfect.
Bye.